Wow. So today I am going to interview Ken Sagoes, Kincaid from Friday the 13th Part 3 and 4, one of the Dream Warriors, one of my favourites, one of my favourite of the series, possibly my favourite of the series. Got this amazing chroma crystal custom Blu-ray that he signed for me. I met him in Manchester, as you see above me in the sign. And he's recently written Socrates. So the first part of my interview today is going to be about the acting journey of Ken Sagoes. He's going to talk about so many amazing people that he's worked with and his inspiration. He's just such a great guy. I've been communicating with him for quite a while. He's such a lovely guy and he's been so generous to me. Just want you to hear about him. So just listen to Ken's story because your mind will be blown from some of the stuff we'll talk about. So yeah, enjoy. Ken Sagoes, thank you so much for joining us on the channel. It is an absolute honour. I see you as horror royalty. Ken, wow. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I know often when I'm interviewing people, certainly in the US, it's people I haven't met before. We have met, and like I said to you before we started recording, it was such an honor to meet you, to get things signed, have our pictures together when you were over in the UK. It must be really nice for you having this history with people that you haven't met, like people who have got these wonderful memories of your films. I want to talk a little bit about when you became aware of the fact that, I'll start off with your most famous role, Kincaid. When did you realize that he was a favorite character? Because there's many characters in these films, but one of my favorite.
I didn't know that he was a favorite character. But before I start off, let me say, I know you said it was an honor to meet me and everything, but truthfully speaking, the honor is that I'm meeting you. And that's because I firmly believe that I am who I am because of you. So that's the honor. So let me give you and everybody out there who's watching this here your props first.
Thanks, Ken. Appreciate it. That's very kind. Very kind.
As for Kincaid, when I was doing the movie, I had no idea what I had stumbled upon. And not only that, I was the first African American to survive an international horror film and return to a sequel. So because of that, I had made history, And over the years, listening to fans all over the world say what Kincaid meant to them and what he means to them to this day. And so I am grateful that I'm able to sit down and for you all to give me that wind that keeps me flying. And so,
that's amazing. And that is something that, like, I guess with the advent of fan fests and conventions and things like that, you're getting to meet more people like myself who can say, oh, we love this part of the film, or we love this thing. Do you feel like now more than ever you're in touch with the fans? Like they are, you're meeting more people now more than ever?
I do, and I feel that I didn't know about the cons until maybe about 20 years after Nightmare. I did Nightmare. So, although I've been around for a while, I'm still a late bloomer, But
yeah, it's exploded, really, hasn't it? The convention scene has really exploded.
Yeah, it's exploded, and and I guess because I meet people from all walks of life, all over the world, and sometimes people may feel that they ask the same questions, and a lot of times they do. But I never get tired of answering the same question because it's always refresh. It's a refresh to me, and and I enjoy it. I think it's not a job. It's not something that you're working toward. it's a communication that I enjoy. So it's not, I enjoy talking about it. You know, I wished that I had time, more time to spend with each person that come to the table. You know,
Sure.
I wish that I could do a convention where it's just me, you know.
Yeah, it's be every single person. Yeah.
And so we're just sitting down talking, you know. Like I
Mm.
think we had spoken before I came on here. I came from the country. And so I just remember on Friday nights, you know, we used to sit outside around a bonfire and we would just talk about anything. And
Yeah.
so, and I wish that I could just sit down with the horror fans and we can just talk about anything. And that's why when I'm there by myself doing a Q&A, I like to be the first one to the door when it's over because I like to shake everybody's hand as they leave.
Yeah. Oh, that's really nice. That's lovely. I've recently moved to the countryside. I used to live in the city, and I moved to countryside, and saying hello to people, and like in when you bump into the same faces, and having that connection with people, it is a really warm feeling. And the fact that you want to give that to your fans and people who love the films that you're in, I think you bring that to the characters you play for some reason, and I'm going to ask you what you think that might be, because I said I think Kincaid it is such a favourite character of so many fans of the whole series. There's so many films, and that survival to the next film was historical and groundbreaking. But I also think people thought maybe one of the saddest deaths. Like, how did you feel? I mean, obviously, you knew, you know, he's not going to survive every single film. But how did you feel? Like, did you get any feedback from people going, "Oh, I was devastated to hear that"? You know?
All the time, all the time. Just today, you know, I was on Facebook, and just today there was a whole thread, a whole conversation about part 4 and how my character and Rodney Eastman character was killed off. They felt that, you know, they just diminished our power and just killed us off. And, you know, being an actor, you understand that. Now, as a writer, which I am, I probably would still be in the movie, but you know, in a wheelchair talking,
Yeah.
you know, trying to put my teeth in, you know, but no, not, but I also think that's what makes it
Yeah.
so great that you be able to go and you do something and you do a good job. And I try to do the best that I can. And, you know, and so you want to do something that people want to see more.
Yeah, that's a big compliment. That, you know, because there's so many characters, certainly in films like, say, Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, where, you know, people are not clamoring to see that person again. They're just sort of fodder for Freddy or fodder for Jason, and that's such a compliment that
Yeah,
people are going, I want to see that character survive, because
yeah,
the bigger these franchises get, the more it becomes about the lead
yeah.
monster, you know. And I think that's awesome. In a strange sort of way, the Dream Warriors are almost like a group like the Breakfast Club, or they're kind of, they have their own
What do you
distinct.
know about the Breakfast Club all the way over there?
Oh, I love that film. When I was at university writing, and I was doing screenwriting, like John Hughes and Woody Allen, and a lot of dialogue based things. Those were my people I looked up to. And it's funny how many posters, like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 has got like a spoof Breakfast Club thing, and I think the one that's behind me, if I take me off screen for a second, is almost the same. It's like a play on the Breakfast Club, kind of all lying down on the post. So I just think the Dream Warriors are like a really cool group of people, and I think, you know, we talk a little. I just want to talk a bit about that, challenging stereotypes. You know, were you aware at the time that that black characters, there was a chance that they were going to be the first ones to be seen off in films?
That was the norm,
Yeah.
It was the norm that the black characters either get killed off first or second, or at least they didn't live to the end. I remember when I first got the script, I was like trying to see when I was going to die. And I kept turning the pages and turning the pages. And when I got to the last page, I said, oh shit. So, and so I always, at the time I was doing stand-up as well. So at the time, one of my jokes for part 4 was, if you're going to see me in the theaters, don't get no popcorn, don't get no drink, go right to the theater. You can get popcorn later. Go right in the theater. So.
Don't miss a thing. Don't miss a minute. Because I guess in a way, through that your popularity of as a character there, even in the 80s, there was a lot of like testing and audience kind of scores and things like that. You must have just resonated to have brought you back. There must be that connection with your character to have brought them back. And I'm interested in kind of how your success with that film played into things that you did later that seem to have more of like a social voice. Things like the work you did with John Singleton, Rosewood, and I'm really interested in how, did you feel that being successful gave you more of a voice, and having that voice meant you had to use it?
I do believe that, and so when I got Rosewood, that was completely opposite of what I had normally did. But Rosewood was more something that I could relate to in my real life upbringing. Mm-hmm. And and there was other films that I was there. I've always been blessed to have some really good roles in some very great films, iconic films. And it's just something else about me. I never really wanted the lead role. I like to be, like a in and out. I go in, I do myself, and I'm gone. I like that.
Bring something different to it.
Nightmare on Elm Street, it blessed me to be known. It blessed me to have my face out there, at least in the horror community. I had no idea how powerful the horror community was, and I'm grateful for them. So.
Yeah, and I think the horror community is something that it is a little bit like maybe heavy metal or like a sport, maybe not a sports team, but there's a real passion there that's like maybe even like professional wrestling as well, where it's a kind of a really inclusive tribe. Like people who love horror will invite people in to love horror. It's not exclusive. And I really love that about it. And I think that from reading about you and researching you for this interview, I guess
can I tell you a quick story because you brought up,
please,
because you brought up wrestling. Right after Nightmare 3, I was contacted by the World Wrestling Association. They wanted me to become a wrestler. So
no way.
They had their own little saying, and they told me that I was going to win most of the races, the battles and stuff. Yeah. I just couldn't do it.
Wow.
I just, because my family, especially my older brother, they grew up loving wrestling. We lived in a small southern town outside of Atlanta. So every Friday night they would have a wrestling event. And that's when the first time I saw street lights is that we went to Atlanta to see wrestling. So I just wanted to bring it up about wrestling.
No, that's really interesting because it is, I feel like back in the day, people are a bit sniffy about horror, and maybe some people still are. You know, it doesn't get recognized. Some of the performances don't get recognized at at the Oscars, should I say? Or they don't. Whereas the actual people who love it really love it, and I think that goes with wrestling, goes with heavy metal, goes with horror. These are like really strong, passionate, loving fandoms, and I noticed as well that you didn't limit yourself. You talked about getting in and getting out and trying lots of different things. You even worked alongside Martin Lawrence and in What's Happening Now, the sitcom. What was it like working with Martin? Because I imagine he was quite an interesting character.
In real life, he was living with me. So,
okay.
And it was because what had happened is that Martin Lawrence and I was auditioning for What's Happening Now. And it was narrowed down between the two of us.
Right.
And so they end up not casting one of us, but they booked and cast both of us. And so at the time, Martin was living on the East Coast, and he needed a place to stay when he got out here. So he lived with me. So we was good buddies. When we left the set, we came home. We was buddies. We always have been pals, and we always will be buddies. And it was funny because we was almost like the Walt in that TV show, Good Night, John Boy. So,
yeah, you were with each other pretty much all day.
But wow. You don't get any better than Martin Lawrence, and I just didn't have the that he had. He would go out there and he would shoot that gun, and I wouldn't. I would be trying to dust off stuff. So,
Do you think that's what it is sometimes with certain people? It's just they're absolutely driven, like they're just almost sacrificed everything for success.
It's there, but with Martin, he was not only driven, he was extraordinarily talented, and there was no way that he was going to be down, because Martin was a young genius, and he had his sight on something, and I had my sight on something, and and that's the way it went. But he was going to make it. He's where he's not just where he earned his right to be. He's where he's supposed to be.
Right. That's really interesting. Because you've been, as well as being an incredible actor and writer and just, a real Renaissance man yourself, you've actually been, when you were studying directing and producing, and people like, you worked under Marlon Brando, my favorite actor of all time, is that right?
Yes, I studied with him.
Oh my word. Now, I could just talk all day about Marlon Brando. I've just done an hour video on him because my favorite actor of all time, On the Waterfront is my favorite film of all time. What was that like? I can't think of a better question than what was that like?
I mean, let me say this before I go into that. You have to realize that for me, how I can explain what it was like. Mm-hmm. For me, as a young countryman that grew up in the backwoods of Georgia with no lights, no TV, no running water, no electricity and stuff, and to migrate, to be able to come up here as a security guard and not only meet some of the greats, but they took me under their wings, so they took me time to talk with me. It wasn't working with Marlon Brando was my summer at Harvard.
Right.
My afternoon at the London Royal Theatre of London, I think. But it wasn't just Marlon Brando. I had a chance to meet, Telly Savalas, who let me sit in on his class. I met Lucille Ball. And one of the people that I met, which had an influence on me, was Mr. Alfred Hitchcock. So I met them, you know, we through my journey as a security guard. I met a lot of the old greats who
Yeah.
took time to talk to me. So I couldn't afford to go to and pay for the workshops, but I worked at Universal Studios. And as a security guard walking through those different studios, I got a chance to meet and watch the great. So in a sense, I
Wow.
was in a workshop. So
Yeah.
because and and then to be able to work with you would know her, Dame Joan Plowright.
Oh yeah, I've heard of Jane. Yeah, Joan Plowright.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
out there to be able to work with her.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
I've been blessed, man. Matt, I've been blessed.
Yeah. And I can see that, you're talking about how they treated you and how you learn from them. It goes right back to how you respond to people who are fans of your work now.
Yeah. The thing that I got out of them talking to me and, giving me their time was the payback was pass it on.
Mm.
In so many ways, they gave me a baton. And the baton was to pass it on to somebody that's coming behind me. And, and and to be able to, like I said, as a young black man, to be able to meet William Marshall, who played Blackula, to be able
Oh,
to meet Sidney Poitier, to be in their company, Now, I didn't hang with them, but to be in their company, for them to take a minute with me and
yes.
talk to me, that minute was a teardrop that
Mm.
became a flood of running water in my heart. And, it helped me to this day, it gives me energy, because in this industry that we're in, this crazy effed up world that we're in, you know, you have to have a certain mindset. So when I get at my lowest
Mm.
now, I think about one thing that one of those greats that I was in the company of said to me.
Yeah.
And then you have to go on, we had Robert Englund. Now, Robert Englund is 10 minutes with Robert Englund, you felt like you just finished a whole seminar at Yale. you know, he's a brilliant man. He's an extraordinary man who has worked with some of the greats himself.
Yeah.
So I've been blessed in this industry. I really have.
Oh, that's such an inspiring thing to hear, and that leads into my next question, really, which is, you talk about paying it forward, and I know that before we really dig into your writing, which I know quite a bit about, and I've done quite a lot of reading about, but one thing I wanted to talk about was your humanitarian work and that giving back, providing books and supplies. Tell me a little bit about that, if you're okay talking about it. It's completely up
I,
to you.
it's like I started an organization in 1997 called the Giving Back Corporation, where I pay for college-bound kids books when they go to college. And the reason for that is because when I was in college, I couldn't afford my books. There was an elderly lady that helped me with my books. During the summer, I couldn't afford to go to summer camp. So every summer, I try to send somebody's kids to summer camp. And so there was times that we didn't have a meal at home. I mean, I always ate, but there was a meal. So during Thanksgiving, I try to buy a family a dinner. So it's payback and it's giving back, and that's what I do. And let me say this here: through my organization, Giving Back, I have helped over 1,000 kids through college, and not just in the
Oh,
United States, but even over the in England. There's a couple of young people that I've helped in England,
oh, that's
and
amazing.
it's all over the world. And there's one in Switzerland and one in Iceland. They're young people that that I keep in touch with. So
Well,
and
that's amazing. That is amazing. Speaking as somebody, I'm a working class person, and Nobody in my family ever went to university. I was the first one. And to think that you're giving people that chance, that support, just a huge thank you. That is incredible. What a wonderful story.
Yeah, I don't like to say giving them that chance, because the fact that they're going there is a chance. What
Yes,
I'm giving them is an opportunity to continue their chance.
that's
You
a
know,
good point. Yeah, I
and
agree.
so because I know what it's like
Hmm.
not to have something. Now, I wished I could cure the world, but I know that if I give some education, you never know what each one of those kids. Now, some of them got PhDs now; they're doctors and everything. But
Wow.
that's something that I chose to do. That I enjoy doing it. So is I don't look at it as a humanitarian thing. I just look at it that it's something that I want to do. And I do it.
So this is now part 2 of my interview with Ken Sagoes, talking all about his new book that is coming out soon, Socrates. It's a really cool Hitchcock, Poe, Freddy infused, but completely unique comic book, Socrates, which is now being made into a short film. And there's an Indiegogo link in the description for you to check out. So yeah, let's listen to him and how he explains to us all about how this film's going to get made and how he came up with the idea of Socrates and more. Ken Sagoes. When I look through some of the things, some of the other pieces of writing that you've done, and the film choices you've made, and like you said, the work you've done with young people, there's this kind of two themes I've noticed. One is like a kind of social justice, and the other side of it was like, and I don't know whether these things are linked or not, but it's like nature as well, like a lot to do with nature.
Yeah.
And when I was reading the Socrates, which we're going to talk about, for the first time, I was like, there's so many influences to that. But looking at some of the other things that you'd written as well, there's some of those were based in nature as well, aren't they? How did you come to deciding to focus on writing and getting your own ideas out there, or have you always been a writer?
I've always enjoyed creativity. And when you was like, and as a child, and we stayed so far from other children, at least, and at the time being the baby child,
Mm-hmm.
your imagination was there and your dreams was there. And I remember writing, I just found, I'm saying this because about a couple of years ago, I actually found the first thing that I wrote when I was in the 6th grade.
Oh,
And I used to go fishing, and and it was this lake up the way, and it had a creek that came from that lake. And I had learned how to make a little boat, those paper boats, and I had put it in the water at that lake. And it was a couple of days, and my little boat came dribbling down that creek. And so I wrote me a short story about that. So, and it was just dreaming. I used to see birds going south for the winter. And, we were so poor, Mac. When the birds would go over our house,
mm-hmm.
my grandfather used to come out with his gun and shoot them, right?
Oh.
And that was going to be our dinner. So somehow, I guess the birds communicated. So the next year, they went around our house.
Smart.
So, and I used to watch things. I used to watch animals. And that was something that I learned from Marlon Brando. That if you really want to put character in a performance, watch animals.
Right.
If you really want to continue to focus on things and don't let nothing get in your way, watch ants. Watch
Right.
ants. Watch ants because they do their thing. They continue to do their thing, and we can go there and you can mess them up, but 5 minutes later they get back together and they continue to do their thing.
Right. Smart. Yeah. Yeah.
Think about that. Just watch animals. And I wrote a little story about that too, because the story was that I guess those animals were saying those goddamn humans.
Yeah.
Mess them up, but they kept going.
I see that with what you're saying about Brando as well, because people would often use the phrase about him as being a force of nature. You know, like people would say that about him, wouldn't they? And he's obviously looking at nature and using that as
Yeah.
as creativity, as inspiration. So let's really dig into Socrates, because at the moment there is a lot of buzz about the Indiegogo campaign to get the short film made of this wonderful comic book that I've read and really enjoyed. I would say, and I wrote you a short review about this, but I know that I love the mixture of urban legend and a vengeful evil spirit. Was this you watching nature and then multiplying it by 100?
It's watching nature and knowing about nature, but I also like to be a historian. So I always put some history in whatever I write. And so and this I wanted to write something that was new. And I was a fan of Allan Poe, Alfred Hitchcock, which I think I told you I met.
Yes.
Of course, Wes Craven. I give homage to him because I'm who I am because of him. And then the great William Marshall, who played Blackula. So I wanted to write something fresh, new, original, not a remake. And so that's what Socrates is. Socrates is an African gray parrot. And for those who don't know, an African gray parrot is the geniuses of the bird world. They can talk, they can communicate, and everything. So I just enhanced this bird who had been possessed by a witch doctor during the times of slavery. So through the years, it has grown to take revenge on things. People that had mistreated, he had through his eyes, through the bird's eyes, he has watched mistreatment for centuries, not just whites, but by blacks, by everybody. So in a sense, Matt, nobody is safe. Nobody.
No,
But
and then that's what's so great about him as well. And he's, because he can speak, but I think, like I said to you, unlike the birds, there's just one of him, but he's so dangerous, isn't he?
Yeah, dangerous. But in part two, he's gonna be even more dangerous. So.
Oh man, can't wait.
He's gonna be even more dangerous, and his eyes turn red, and I guess I can give out the secret. His talent is grow like Freddy Krueger.
Oh wow! Because this is what I was going to say. There is a lot of, as you were explaining to me, then all those elements of your influences, but also it is highly original. I've not seen a character like Socrates before that works so well. That idea development, it must have taken you a while to put all those things together and still have it in your voice, if that makes sense. You wanted it to be uniquely something that you've come up.
I wanted it to be unique. I wanted it to be a story that everybody could watch, and everybody could enjoy. And I wanted to give it a touch of horror. It not bloody, but horror. And I wanted Socrates. Like Socrates is loved by the bird lovers, and he's loved by children. what he doesn't like is the abuse. And, the people that he saw years and years and centuries ago that abused people, they passed on. So the thing about Socrates, he's taking revenge on the ancestors of the descendants who were so brutal. And so that's where he's a problem is. He can't distinguish what's right and wrong.
Yeah, and I think that's always, if you can understand the intentions and the motivation of a character, the choices that they make, are completely justified to them, so it makes more sense. And also it makes them, like, a bad guy doesn't know that they're a bad guy, like that they think they're the good guy, don't they? And it's an interesting take when you've got a character whose decisions are justified and make rational sense. Socrates is available on the Sagoes company website, and there is something exciting with the development of and the success of the comic book, which is the short film, which has just gone live recently.
It's just gone live. My crowdfunding has just gone live, and to all my fans, I really, really do need your help. It's a crowdfunding, and I have to raise at least $60,000 to even touch this here short film, because it's CGI that's involved, special effects that involved. And like I say in the presentation, I don't want it to seem like I got my hand up a fake bird ass and talking. I want this to be real. And I have to, and I'm doing the short film to show myself as a director. I set out 3 years ago to do 3 short films. I've done 2. This is my last one. And I chose this to be my last one because it's a horror adventure. And I promise you, you're not going to be disappointed. Now, if you go to the crowdfunding, I hope he'll put it up, I guess.
Yes, there'll be a link. Yeah.
There's some wonderful perks there, wonderful perks. And you can just make a contribution. And, and it doesn't matter what size. If you just got $1, please let me have your $1. I don't care. Don't feel like you got to give a bunch of money. If 60,000 people give me $1, I can make this film. That's what I'm saying. So,
it's so exciting. It's such an exciting project. It really is, because I was reading the comic and imagining that movie in my head.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You're not going to be disappointed. And I don't know if this would get on in time, but I do have an angel investor who said he would match everything I make from June the 19th to June the 23rd. He would match it up to $2,500. So please, everyone, help me get at least $2,500 by June the 23rd.
Oh, please, guys, get on it, because I think people who watch my channel know that I don't tend to just say everything's great. I'm only, I'm interested in talking to people I admire, such as yourself, or films that I love. This is a channel that is just about the love of horror and classic media. And, from somebody who has followed your career for a long time, and like I say, I've got my special Friday Part 3 Blu-ray signed, and I've got my thing. But this book works for people who have no investment in you as an actor, just as people who enjoy, classic horror in a really interesting and innovative way. All the things we've talked about, your work in the past, the people you've worked with, this all comes together in Socrates, doesn't it?
Comes together in Socrates. And let me say one other thing is that, I even went out and shot a teaser for you to show you how this is going to be. We have a wonderful young actor who actually trained in London at the Royal Academy of London. I think that's what it is. But I'm going to do this on the same format that they did the Dream Warriors, where they brought in talented young people, and we're going to pair them with some top lead actors. It's a win-win. I took everything that I've known, everything that has been passed on to me, and I made a film with a story.
Yes.
With a story. And it's got adventure, it got drama, it's a thriller, it gets all packed up in once. And, and the villain is a bird.
That's what I think makes this stand out. Is I know you mentioned story there. I think is that there are plenty of crowdfunded horror movies. Often there's a nice name, like a name for the film, and it's rushed into production. But what they might have a central conceit, but not have a strong story to follow that. And it's it's a nice idea, but without anything, underpinning that. And I think what stands out about Socrates is that you can see the potential for this. In particular, if you watch the teaser video, which is on the Indiegogo page, which I'll post, people can see that this is going to be very different to a lot of films that might have one famous person attached and a name, but no story.
Right. This is a story. I have an obligation to those who gave me their wisdom, and I want to pass this wisdom on. I think that this is going to have its own franchise, and
yeah, that would be great.
You're going to love it. You're going to love it. So please, whatever you can do, go and watch.
You gotta love me. It says it's just.
You gotta love me. So many times people, when they want to make a contribution, they don't feel that they have enough to make a contribution. Mm-hmm. And like I said, even if it's just $1, that's a step closer to what I had. Nothing is too small. So please, whatever you can give, pass it on. That's what I like about the horror community.
Yes.
We come to our own, and I want to be able to give you more and more and more.
Well, you've been very kind to me in the past, and you don't know me from Adam. I could be anybody, and like when we met, you were willing to give up your time for a chat and a photo and to sign some things, and even when I got this, I got the comic book from you a while back. And, it had a couple of stickers in there as well, and I was like, oh, that's nice. That's a nice little. Oh, there it is. In fact,
yeah, you get a sticker. It's giving back.
Yeah, it's great, man, and I think we started this conversation, this interview, talking about your background in acting and all the different influences and you've had. But also how appreciative you are of fans. And I think this is an opportunity for fans to show how much they appreciate you as well. Would you say that, with Socrates, that are you wanting to kind of flex those muscles only as a director, or are you going to act in the film as well?
I'm doing the voice of Socrates.
Right.
This will be my first voiceover. I am doing the voice. The voice you hear in now of Socrates is me.
Oh, that'll be awesome.
So, but who knows? I want to do a cameo, maybe in one of the sequels, but not now, because I want to be able to focus on giving you an exciting project.
And your track record when it comes to writing and directing your last two short films, there was this sounds unbelievable, but it's true. I looked it up. It's not over 200 awards.
200, and many of them was for my directing, and many of them was for my writing.
Wow.
You see, Matt, I love acting. I love writing, and as an actor, most actors who like the art, they want something they can sink their teeth in,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I like to write. I like to think that this is my canvas, this is my paintbrush. I want to paint my picture. Now you can give me the paint, but you cannot paint my picture. That has to come from me. So that's what I've done. I have a story. I have heard what people think. But you see, the reason I have to direct this here, because no one is in my head. And that's why I want to be able to give Socrates that emotion, that abused child is what he is. He's an abused child, and now he's back for revenge. And I want to be able to give that, to understand that, to love, for people to love Socrates, but at the same time, people cross Socrates and God help me.
I was reading through, and there's moments when you think that I don't want to give anything away because I want people to buy this, and so, but there's moments where you think Socrates is done for, but he's a tough old bird.
Yes, Socrates is going to he's a great character. He's a character that you understand him. He fears you, but you understand him, and he outsmarts them all. He outsmarts them all, and he's going to come back.
Well,
I can't.
Well, when I first read it, and you said, I thought of Poe, and then when you mentioned Hitchcock, and I was like, all of those things are there, but it doesn't feel like it's that. Do you know what I mean? It is very unique in that sense. The voice is unique, the background and the motivation. Because to be honest, the birds in the bird, you don't know the motivation of the birds in the bird. They just do what they do. And obviously, the Raven is a very different style.
Yeah.
Whereas Socrates has got all this layered social injustice and history there, which is fascinating. And it works for me. It works for me. I know that I'm really looking forward to seeing this get made, and I'm, like I say, I'm going to put the links in the description. It's in my community tab already. People on my channel have been so nice about. Literally today, I posted, and this is just to give you a little bit of a kind of a taste of the how much people appreciate you, and I wanted to share this with you. I just posted the link to what we were doing, this thing, and they came up. People were coming up with quotes already. I'll see you in hell. I'll see you, and tell them Freddie sent you. And like it's just. I was just like, people just instantly light up when they hear your name, which must be a really lovely thing to hear.
I pattern Socrates. He's very quick, and the young man that you see, he's actually patterned after Kincaid. So it's like a young Kincaid, and there's some other characters in there too. So, but Socrates, all I can say is that you just have to see him, Socrates.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I think if people are watching this and they won't be able to resist. Just getting to speak to you today, and I know I said it at the beginning, but it's absolutely just a thrill for me. You watch a movie as a child, and I'm in my 40s now, mid 40s, and you know, and you never think you're going to get to speak to the people that you're watching up on the movie screens, and to meet them and to be such wonderful people and such an inspirational person is an absolute honor. So thank you so much, Ken, for your time today. Is there anything you'd like to kind of say to the people who have followed your career? I know you've kind of said a lot already, but I just want to give you an opportunity.
At the end of the day, thank you. I know you appreciate my work, you know, and all those things, but I am who I am because of you. And I say that I don't care what celebrity you admire, you are on their level. As a matter of fact, it's because of you they're on that level that they're in. So I appreciate you. And as we go, I want to say fucking A. A fucking A. And I want to end it with Socrates. Gotta love me. Gotta love me.
It's the new catchphrase, man. I can't wait. I can't wait. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
No, thank you. I hope to speak to you again soon as well. And, you know, maybe one day we could watch part 3 together and do a commentary on it or something. That would be awesome.
We will. Not one day, maybe. Take maybe out. We will.
Oh, man, that would be awesome. That would be so cool. You could tell me, oh, in that bit, I said this, or in this bit, I did that. And I'd be like, no way.
You know, one of the most popular things that we are doing a behind the scene video of Socrates.
Oh, cool.
It's going to be
that's another thing as well. Once Socrates is kind of, you know, up and running, we need to catch up and see where you are with it as well. That'd be great.
Yeah, we will.
Oh, thanks, Ken. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your. It's afternoon for you, isn't it? So yeah, enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
I just ask that you keep in touch.
100%. 100%. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you very much for your time.
All right, my friend. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
Goodbye, everyone. Okay.